right.
So it doesn't make noise.
That's okay. Hello, hello. Welcome to Kill the Bottle Podcast. That is more, aka the Yum Yum Foodie. Senorita Megan, I would introduce her, but she's busy guzzling water. Hey, Megan.
Shh! Don't tell them.
It's on video.
Oh,
They're gonna see it.
I
They're
don't.
gonna see it.
I don't drink no water.
You don't drink no water. This is the season finale of Kill the Bottle Podcast. It's not the series finale, guys. Relax. I don't need your bullshit emails saying why are we leaving. This is just the end for like a minute. Oh, look at me. So first of all, I gotta acknowledge Megan. Megan brought food today, which she never does. It
No,
wasn't all bullshit.
It
She
wasn't
brought
on
that.
purpose.
You brought that terrible Del Taco birria ramen that
Yeah.
one time. That
Mhm.
yeah,
I liked it.
yeah, I'm sure you did. I'm sure
That's
you did.
good.
I don't even want to
Stained
know.
my white shirt. I had to get rid of that shirt.
That's right. It's stained your white shirt. Has signs you know your ramen is off. If it like stains it and nothing will get it out.
Yeah.
Like
No,
it's like
it
it's
was all
nuclear waste.
It was
That is
grease on a white shirt.
grease on a white shirt. So it is called Kill the Bottle Podcast. And we'll take a deeper dive into it right now. Today we are drinking wines from Ancient Peaks Winery in Central California, in SLO, in Santa Margarita to be more specific. And we'll take a little deeper dive into that in a second. But Megan, so you there's a look on your face today that I don't know. You're like giddy. You had the chuckles earlier.
Yeah. I'm fine.
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had to go to work this week.
Oh, that's right.
I literally did not get in my car for 4 days straight. And it was the most wonderful 4 days of my life. I just sat in my place and just kind of took in the noises from my neighbors.
Yeah, that's great.
It's been really successful.
You know
It's
what?
been really good.
Because it is a break and this is fresh on my mind. I just got to get this off my chest. If you go to the gym, okay, and you go on a machine, just do me a favor, work out on the damn machine. Don't sit on your phone for 5 minutes in between each set. Don't be that asshole. So go to the side of the gym, go wherever you got to go.
Where did that come from?
That happened this morning to me. It took me
Did
like
I
another
remind you
20
of
minutes
that?
to exercise. No, you just look like an asshole. So it just reminded me of the people from earlier today.
No, I
But-
do that.
No.
But I'm the only one in the fucking gym.
Yeah, that's
Excuse
true.
my
That's fair.
language.
That's fair. So anyway, I did mention we are drinking on some Ancient Peaks wine. The one that we're drinking right now that's in our glass is a 2021 Cabernet Sauvignon. This is the bread and butter, as I like to say. I like to say this is and well, I don't even want to say what I like to say. I'll let our guests talk about it first, though. Very nice segue because we are drinking Ancient Peaks wine. With us right now is the winemaker from Ancient Peaks Winery. I know it's so exciting, Mr. Mike Sinor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I was like, do I want to get fancy? Do I want to call him Michael Sinor? Is that
Nah.
what's on your SAG card?
Yeah, no sad card here, Ed. I appreciate it. Mike Siner's all good. Thank you
Mike
for having
Sinor.
me.
No. So first of all, I met Mike and I really got introduced to Ancient Peak Wines. Ancient Peaks Wines, a few months ago. It feels like an eternity ago, but I honestly don't even remember when it was. I just know it was in the fall. And they've got the most spectacular, gigantic property I have ever been to. I've been to a bunch of wineries, but I've never been to a winery that has so much stuff you can do around it. Like I went horseback riding. I went like I was looking for herbs out in the. I went foraging. That's what I was like looking for herbs. I went foraging. I couldn't think of it. Like I did zip lining.
What?
I know. I hung out with Mike. I went in.
What?
It was kind of like it's kind of like incredible place. It really is. So anyway, sorry.
Like
And
an
Mike
adult
has
Disney World.
pretty much. It's like adult. It's adult Disney
Adult
World.
Disney World.
And then not only that, but one thing I want to mention before we is that Mike is the OG original winemaker of Ancient Peaks. Like it is you. If you taste any wine from Ancient Peaks, this gentleman, made it.
It's a village, Eddie. I appreciate it, man. But
Yeah.
and great to see you guys. Thanks for having us on. But yeah, anyway, I appreciate enjoying the wines. Great to see you again, and love to taste some Ancient Peaks wines with you and talk about Paso Robles overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was so the folks who listen to the show know that that Megan and I are fans of just wines from Paso Robles. I have friends out there. Any chance I get to go out there, it's a really exciting wine region. Even though it is a in the wine world it's popular, but I think for the standard consumer, besides a couple of the names you always see at the grocery store, it's not something that you're, super familiar with, so it's very exciting about it. How many vintages or how many years have you been with Ancient Peaks?
So we started Ancient Peaks with the vintage of 2005 in the year 2006. So that was our first vintage together. I'm the founding winemaker is my true title. Stuart Cameron's the hands-on winemaker. And yeah, I've been there since the beginning. We didn't have the word Ancient Peaks. I got together with the three families, the Rossis, the Filipponis, and Wistroms from Paso Robles. They own the Santa Margarita Ranch, which you're on. The ranch is 14,000 acres. So it is a piece of land, that's for sure. And these guys have been growing grapes for many years, but we got together and started the company in 2006.
Yeah, I remember when I was there, they basically they made a distinction that that amount of acreage is almost the size of Manhattan, essentially.
That is exactly correct. It is approximately the size of the island of Manhattan. This is an original Mexican land grant. Goes back to the 1700s as far as that piece of land. But heck, it goes back to 10,000 years with the Chumash Indians around here.
Yeah, well, I remember we went up the mountain and you could see I don't know, essentially the differences in the soil on the side of the mountain for X amount of years, and you're just like kind of looking through and seeing all this history in there. What first of all, where did you grow up?
I'm personally from the Central Valley, so just my hometown is Visalia, California, just south of Fresno is where I grew up.
And what did you want to be when you were growing up? Was winemaking even in the? I mean, because you're not drinking wine when you're 5 years old.
3-year-old, and you're like,
not everybody's Megan.
I think like not
Yeah, that's a great question. So from my ages of about 17 or 18 years old to 21, I wanted to be a high school teacher and teach shop class. And that's what I got into Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for. I studied industrial technology at Cal Poly. I wanted to be a shop teacher. But now, I got here 30 vintages ago. This is last year's my 30th vintage. And I got in the wine business because I needed to raise money to go to school. And so I found very quickly how beautiful the Central Coast is, San Luis Obispo. I fell in love with the industry of wine and this area.
Well, there's got to be some carryover from shop teacher to vineyard, right? What skills do you use doing wine and shop? How can you intermingle those?
It really did. In my early part of my career, it was actually quite vital part of people wanting to bring me onto their company. When I could explain to them that I could weld, TIG, MIG, oxyacetylene, I can drive an 18. My dad had a junkyard near Fresno, so I can drive an 18-wheeler. I was a pretty physical person. So all those traits in the beginning of my career were very helpful to get people's attention. And then, but it was early on, it was very helpful.
I was going to say, I went to college and got a minor in family and consumer studies or home economics. And so I taught middle school for 5 years, home economics, right next to the shop teacher who would do our cutting boards and everything. And it was cool. They don't have that out here in California, but they had it back still in Colorado just a few years ago. So I appreciate you at least thinking about going into the field.
Yeah.
Smart you did.
And he's like, you know what? Drinking is way better.
Oh, way better. I wish.
Yeah.
There's years I wish I could trade.
Yeah. So what were you doing before Ancient Peaks? Like what how did you lead into this role with the winery?
Yeah. So how we got together. So before this engagement with Ancient Peaks and starting this company, I was at a brand called Chamisol today in the Edna Valley here in San Luis Obispo, Slow Coast area. So I was the winemaker and vineyard supervisor for about 80 acres of grapes that I was working at, making the wines. It's a company that was distributed, but it's a pretty small company making 3,000 or 4,000 cases of wine. And that's where I was at before Ancient Peaks. And then one of the owners of Ancient Peaks called me in 2005. And so a little bit of Ancient Peaks, it's, again, we talked about Paso Robles. We're actually the southernmost vineyard in Paso Robles. And it was actually planted by Robert Mondavi from Napa Valley in the late 90s. So Mondavi planted it. The three families who own Ancient Peaks today, their original idea was to get a check from Robert Mondavi and just cash that check every month. Well, Robert Mondavi left the business, sold his company in 2004. And in 2005, these three families then took that lease back. And so they've been growing grapes for 20 years, but they never made wine before. And they that time didn't even have a winery. So they just sent fruit all around the county to get made into wine. I happened to receive
Wow.
that one of those phone calls, and so I talked to this guy Doug Filipponi, one of the owners of the ranch, and I made 100 tons for him in 2005 vintage. They liked what they tasted. I was looking to get to the next level of my career, so we partnered up and started the company.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how the wine business works because there is no set path for so many people. There's so many people that it's just, I think of our mutual friend Edgar from Bodega to Edgar and like his crazy story of getting into the wine business, and then here you are telling us your story about these folks coming together and getting in the wine business. That's one thing that besides obviously the wines are amazing and they each tell their own little time capsule story. The stories of the people behind the wine I find to be, I guess, what connects me the most to, having a bottle. Obviously, I've been to the winery, but, I think for the people listening at home, it's kind of this feeling connected to you as well. When they open up a bottle and check it out, like this 2021 cab, like this is a delicious wine. I think it's like
This is so
$25 a
good.
bottle. This is something that's extremely approachable, ready to drink right now. Me and my novice wine world, I could still say this will taste delicious also in 5, 6, whatever. But it's something that tastes really good now. How does your wine mentality or approach to winemaking change when you're managing 88 acres versus taking on this? Obviously there's not 14,000 acres of grapes, but it is a gigantic place, and you guys make so many different varietals. How does that change your approach to winemaking?
It's the same approach, just scaled up a bit. I mean, we need more people to do the job, but you really hit
Okay.
on Eddie, you hit on a really key thing and a really differentiator for our business of wine when it comes to the adult beverages. Wine, spirits, beers. Beers, spirits. Think of a Piney the Elder. Think of a Pappy McGregor. Those are products that are manufactured. You can call up and get those materials, make it again. But to your very point, the story of wine is the passion of wine. And that's succinct through these bottles. When done carefully, and Edgar, that's his wines tell that story. And that's our differentiator. And so if you're really good at what you do, and I'm not that good, man, we grow grapes, we make wine, we're doing work. But some
I
people
love the humility as I taste some delicious shit over here. But yeah.
But there's people that can grab a glass of wine and tell you this is Cabernet, this is grown in Paso, maybe Ancient Peaks, maybe Edgar, maybe it's Dow, maybe it's Clos de Saline, L'Aventure. That's nobody. You can't take a bottle of any spirit and tell me what year it was distilled, who aged it, and it doesn't tell that story. And so, to your point, that's exactly what sets wine apart. And to your second part of the question, what it was like for me was, we started tiny, small. We've grown, we've scaled up. But at the end of the day, when you look at our vineyard maps and look at what we do, we're kind of, actually a good example is Matt from the Wine Enthusiast magazine. Matt Kepmans, he knows this Central Coast very well. And his tweet or his post about Ancient Peaks was, we're a big winery but a soulful, small expression. So that's who we are. Wines are out there, but there's still one vineyard, family owned, certified sustainable.
You just made me think of a slogan that someone needs to steal.
Somebody will steal it.
Spirits make stories. Wine makes memories.
Ooh. Well, spirits make you lose memories.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's be real.
Spirits are making the memories. That was the joke, Eddie.
Damn
Thanks.
it, Megan. Damn it.
Spirits make stories. Wine make memory.
So, speaking of making the memories, I just poured. Megan is. I don't know. I've never seen Megan drink this slow before. But
it's really good.
It's delicious.
And we have a really expensive charcuterie to go with it. To be honest with you,
it was a guilt buy. Megan
have a guilt buy that we.
Yeah, Megan got guilted into buying a $37 plate of jamón ibérico that we're eating right now, which is great because it look, Mike's face just completely changed.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite thing in the world to have is with any wine is Spanish ham. I don't care if it's Spanish wine or it's just like my favorite thing in the world. So when Megan showed up with this, I was very excited. But I just used the Coravin. I aerated it a little bit. And I'm pouring the 2020 Pearl Cabernet. And for the folks listening at home, and I'll tell you, so the one I had prior, the Ancient Peaks Cab, you're gonna find that I want to say probably more abundantly. I said that's about $25. This is over $70 a bottle of wine that I just opened right now, And for the consumer at home, what makes that distinction in the price point?
It comes down to cost of goods, right? It comes down to the volume, scarcity. For us, Ancient Peaks is really known as over delivering. That first Cabernet we had is really what we're known for. When you Google Ancient Peaks wines, you will always come up with like punching above our weight. We over deliver at that price. You're quoting Frontline retail out there, but sometimes you find it at $22. Wine Club members can buy that wine for $18 a bottle sometimes, and so
Yeah, that's great.
It's a wine that the company, that's what we founded it on, was a wine that comes from one vineyard, certified sustainable, family owned, but great price. Now, the pearl in your glass, though, in order for you to understand what you're doing today, you've got to go outside your comfort zone, and you need to, and that's really what that pearl is about. That pearl, we make 2 other wines before that pearl in terms of like figuring out the best spots in the vineyard. So that is the apex of Cabernet from our vineyard, the Santa Margarita Ranch, and it is best spots in the vineyard. It's best practices growing viticulture. It's best practices at the winery, and then we've got about, if we've got 900. Actually, we did about call it 500 cases of that wine. We're going to make like 3,000 cases of it, and individually select each barrel to get to that pearl Cabernet.
Because it is spectacular. And I know that it tastes like a wine that should cost more, than the price that's on the Ancient Peaks website. Sincerely, I'm a fan of it. It was one of the wines that when I spoke about having you on the show, I was like, it was one of the wines that really stood out to me when I was on the property, just as much as the Ancient Peaks Cab stands out to me in that price point. As you say, kind of like getting more bang, just punching better, so to speak, than what you think is going to pop out. And it is just a kill. Okay, now I can pour it for Megan. So I'll let you tell me more where I pour it for Megan so that she can try how delicious this is.
So yeah, the pearl, like I said, it's like a oyster shells, and or some of our soils are a big part of our story. But when you find that pearl, it's something special. You don't find it all the time. And for us, that's what this wine's about. Is finding out the best places, best practices. And again, in that lineup, we just did a lineup at the winery in production where we're tasting, 100, 150, $200 bottles of Cabernet from California. And we don't always win that set, but we're always in second, maybe third place with 10 wines. And again, $70 retail, 70 something retail. We're still over delivering.
Now, this is just a question for me as a wine enthusiast and as a novice.
Hold on.
Take a sip, Megs.
Give me a second here.
Is that all?
Take it all in.
Yeah. No, but can't it's like, this is like inky in color. It's like the bouquet is just beautiful on this wine. I hate to say it's like a nice texture to it on the palate. Yeah, that's some good shit, right?
I like the last one. I like this one. I'm in love. I'm just in love. That's what it is.
Well, so one of my novice wine tasting things is I think it's called the pyrazines. It's something that at least when I smell into a wine, if I smell bell pepper, I'm like, this is a Cabernet Sauvignon. The smell of that is so subtle on this 2020. It's there, but it's so subtle compared to some of, let's say it's a 2020, so it's only 4 years. Let's say some of the 2020 Napa cabs that I've had, where I feel like a bell pepper is like punching me in the face. Is there something that you do in the winemaking style to make those to subdue that sooner? Or is that just something from the cab from that particular vineyard?
No, it comes down to location, and it comes down to your work in the vineyard. So when you're talking about pyrazines, which is that's that bell pepper character, that comes down to a lot of canopy management. So that's pulling the leaves from the canopy. When you pick and ripeness, there's the human aspect of wine is gonna articulate that to a certain point. Certain areas of high pyrazines, which you can't escape. For us, in our style at Ancient Peaks, we want that to come through. And I think Eddie described it perfectly. We want a little bit of that to come through because one of our key mantras is varietal typicity. That means varietal character. Right now in this business, so many people want to get people's attention, the gatekeeper's attention, to go forward. And so they put a lot of oak into it, or it's very sweet with sugar and ripeness. That often gets attention to when you have to taste 50 or 100 wines a day. That often gets their attention. But Ancient Peaks, varietal character is very important to us. Whether it's a Zinfandel, Merlot, a Cabernet, it's always going to have that varietal typicity that we absolutely go for.
Yeah, because I mean, you still it's a cab, but it still tastes to me like something that's had a few more years laying down. And that's why, again, when I say that $72 price point, not club member, but that's where I get so surprised, because it does taste like something that I'm gonna make some badass ribeye, or I'm gonna make just have this with I'm gonna have
Really
this with some protein.
expensive.
Really expensive ham that
Beer
Megan paid for. She usually drinks all my booze and eats all my food, so fuck it. You know what? Today it's on you, Meg.
I brought you pork.
She
You're
brought me
welcome.
pork. Yeah, I love pork. What are you gonna do? But this makes me so happy too, Mike, and I'll tell you why and I'm gonna complain about this, not about your wine, but I'm gonna complain about an experience I recently had, which people are gonna hit me for complaining about. I was on a charter yacht a couple of weeks ago in the Bahamas, and it is really hard for them to provision certain things for the boat out there. Spirits, not so much, but wine, there is just not as much good wine available, and I think in a reasonable price point. Let's be fair, because you know what? If you got the money, you can find it. I was drinking wines that you talk about chemicals added to them, and unfortunately, I've gotten to a point where there's certain wines, if I see them bust out, I can't. I mean, I can hold on to a glass of it at a party, and you'll see me sip it once and kind of be grossed out by it and not finish it. And those were the wines that were being poured on this rich people experience that I got to have. And I was like, shit, this is really this is the one thing that's missing there. So it's just a very nice refresher that the first wine I have since being back stateside is something that doesn't taste like it has a ton of doesn't taste like it has chemicals added to it. And it's a big thing.
Yeah, I can't speak to other people's techniques, but I know the business, and when it's price point driven. If you're going to buy a bottle for $3 a bottle, then there's a lot of tomfoolery that's going into that stuff. So
yeah, my line is,
I love that word.
If you're paying Snoop Dogg to be on your bottle, chances are the money that's going to him is not going into making or buying the best grapes. That is my feeling. Without naming the brand that I was
naming a brand?
I am naming a brand that I had.
Martha Stewart.
I didn't try that one, but
she's got one there.
and let me tell you, and the thing is, and I get it, because it's not expensive, and it serves a purpose. And if you know what,
entertaining.
If that's the wine that gets you to try something a little bit nicer, fair. It's just unfortunate when you've had nicer wines that you drink. I'm like, this is gonna give me the worst headache on the planet.
Yeah, and
let me put this down and stick to rum and whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had those wines, and they do give you headaches, though, to be real.
I know. No, I'm not.
I thought you were making fun of it.
No,
for real.
They will.
I usually
do
don't
it.
get headaches, and those ones do.
Those will wreck your world, man. Those are Those will.
To wake up
those do not create memories. Those do not.
Especially with that, when you're talking those wines that are luscious and rich and thick, and you're dealing with some glucose and fructose, you're dealing with sugar in there. Anytime you combine sugar with alcohol, that's really where most of the headaches are coming from.
You mentioned sustainability. Well, your website mentions SIP certified, which is such a great certification to have. I mean, I'll let you elaborate a little bit on it. But how does environmental consciousness, work with Ancient Peaks?
From the foundation of it, going back to when Robert Mondavi planted the vineyard, this vineyard was actually a prototype vineyard for the Central Coast Vineyard Team, which certified SIP. And so, for an example, we have about 1,000 acres under vine, and no trees were removed during the planting of this vineyard. And so, it's a big part of what we do. When you're farming, our revenue is based on the land. So we've got to be the best stewards of the land, because if you're not treating the land well, it doesn't treat you well, and you're not in business. And so for this company, for Ancient Peaks, we got certified in 2009. We're SIP certified, sustainability in practice. I appreciate that. There's other avenues. You got organic with CCOF in California, Demeter with biodynamics, rejuvenative. But this is the only one that asks you about how much you pay your people. What about the education for the people that work there? Do you recycle in your office? Those are things that are taken into effect. And so there's a human aspect to this sustainability that we are certified with. So it's a big part of what we do.
That's going to, I mean, I didn't know that. I read a little bit about SIP, but that, that really takes accountability into it as well, because at the end of the day, if you're being held accountable to all of the other facets of the winery, yeah, and you're taking care, there used to be the commercial in the 80s of Dan Marino with the isotoner gloves, and he's like, take care of the hands that take care of you with isotoner gloves. And he would have these like gloves, and he would give them to his offensive linemen. So I'm a Dolphins fan. I know all the stupid Dan Marino, and they have an Ace Ventura too. But there is something to that, and I think it'll reflect kind of across the board. If people feel cared about, they're going to care about you. They're going to care about what they're doing on the day to day.
Without a doubt, that's the true passion of wine. You guys, it's like, because wine represents time, the vintage, the place for us, Santa Margarita Ranch, and the people, us who do it. That's the passion of wine. It's time, place, and people. The French call that word terroir, a sense of place. But the better, and in business, you figure out what you can control and go control it. So a big part of what we can control is how we treat people and who we hire, who we don't hire, and so when people are into what they do, they're going to do a better job at it. They're going to be passionate about it. And so that's a big part of it. And that's why we love sustainability, being certified, because it's more of it holds us at accountability.
What do you look for in an employee?
Passion. I mean, people who just like what they do, and the two things about it's work ethic and get along with people, right? That's the two things that has to happen. And then
I don't have the second one. I can't. I have the first one, not the second. But go on, continue.
Yeah, no,
find somebody.
But yeah, that's what that's for our company, and we want people who are into this industry, like what they do. Obviously, we all got to do jobs and get the work done, but there's a little something extra when you like and you love what you do. You just care more about it.
How do you handle so since I forgot you mentioned the name of the hands-on winemaker as well, but like you said, it's a team of people, but at the end of the day, if a wine doesn't do well, the fingers are always going to be pointed at you because it's your name on the website. It's so how do you manage such a large property, so many varietals, so many wines being made, and then still feeling that level of trust with everybody around you, knowing that it's reached a certain level, or it's going to live within a certain range of quality?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. It's about just staying close to it, I mean, Stuart Cameron, the winemaker, he started with us in 2006, 2007 when we first started. So he's got the time in the company he's been here, out in the vineyards. I'm out there very often talking with the vineyard manager, Wes. Like, you just stay in touch with it. We put systems in place. We have really good systems. We were blessed with ownership that's working with us. So it's not like some remote people that phone it in from a different country. And so our systems are in at this point in this company, we're in really good shape. So I don't feel that pressure, honestly. I go there to make what can I do for you? I talked to Stuart, the winemaker, out in the vineyard. What can I do for you guys? What do you need help from me? That's what I'm looking to do. Looking to help them make sure they're have everything they need. Whether it's from ownership or making sure they're okay.
So what's for the folks listening at home, what is a day in the life of a winemaker? From when do you get up? What does your day look like?
That's the diversity.
Listen, Megan, your life and his life are very different.
Why don't you just ask him what he's wearing?
I can see what he's wearing from the waist up. Gosh.
Just leave it there. All right. I apologize for interrupting. Continue. I'm very interested.
It's all good. No, at this point in with Ancient Peaks, it's diversity. Earlier last week before last, I was in Houston, Texas, so I had to fly out and go sell wine door to door. So there I'm showing up, talking about the wines, shaking hands, signing bottles at wine shops and that sort of thing. But came right home and we were working on a blend. So I got in on Thursday night late, worked a little bit on Friday, and then Monday morning went up to the winery of Stuart, and we were working on a new wine for Ancient Peaks. And so we had about 6 or 7 different cuvées with this components. And we just sit there and tasted, talked about it, tried some blends with the graduated cylinder. That's really like the like maybe 5% of what we do, but everybody thinks we sit around all day long is blending wines. So yeah, that was like 3 days, coming off the road from selling wine. And then the next day I went up and went through the vineyard and just sort of took pictures about bud break, getting a sense of where it's at, in the growth of the season. Right now, we're done pruning. We're tying vines right now. Checked in with Wes, the vineyard manager. We're preparing for frost season right now. So just checked in with him. How's it going? What do you need? And things were rolling. So it's the diversity. And so every day is a little bit different.
How does it change for you during harvest? Because harvest, I always tell people, is like for winemakers and for people in the wine business, harvest is like tax day, except you don't know when tax day is.
Yeah, it's we call it the season for squeezing, man. You're squeezing everything. You're squeezing grapes. You're squeezing time parameters. It's not for the faint at heart. We run 7 days a week for at least, in my personal world, I go for about almost 2 months straight because what I deal with. And so, yeah, no, it's harvest time. That's another thing. Back to the uniqueness of wine. Tequila, that's cute. Bourbon, nice. Beer, all those things. You can buy these. You can get on the phone and get that stuff, or maybe grow a bit of it, or age it for a long time. Wine, one time a year. You get one shot a year, a calendar year. So if you have 50 vintages doing it, that's only 50 times you've been able to do your job. Imagine in anything you guys do. Imagine for your whole career, Eddie, you had 50 podcasts to do. So there's not a time for messing around. You can't just phone one in. You got to be focused, on point, and you work 7 days a week, sometimes 20, 18-hour days. It's crazy.
Do you guys, I asked this before because you knew I was going to ask. Do you guys ever bring people out for harvest that have never done it before, that really want to just get some buckets full of grapes and get their ass kicked for a few weeks?
Oh yeah, we've had people out interns, and come on up and see us.
I get along with people. I was joking.
She just saw that episode of I Love Lucy where she was stomping on the grapes. I think that's
nah. I heard about just certain wineries where there's like people that live on the wineries, and then harvest season happens and they get paid by the bucket, and it's like I'm sure it's super, super, super difficult, and it just sounds like one of those, like, I'd get my ass kicked but really enjoy the experience of trying to do it.
You should come up and see us. I mean, I tell you what, you will, if you go through and spend a day or two with a winemaker in any location, but an actual operation, you will look at wine so differently. The work, the effort, all the crews are out there picking, to the wineries processing. It's pretty breathtaking. And for most people, if they've never seen it, they thought, oh my God, I had no idea, what it took.
Yeah, it looks that way. And it's on my bucket list. I do want to go for a harvest and do the hard jobs, not like no, I wouldn't say any job's easy, but just like the hard manual work. I want to do it. I think I could.
Megan wants to do the job where there's strong men around that are potential partners.
I wasn't saying that out loud.
I mean,
or do they not wear shirts during this process?
We need to clarify so Mike can point you in the right direction,
yes,
Megan.
Sorry.
That is what we
be more honest. If I come out there, will you head me towards those men and let me get my ass?
Please.
Without a doubt. I got a couple of wineries in mind in Paso that'd love to have you out for a good time.
Yes! I'm not joking. Please, Eddie, hook us up.
Fine. Gosh.
Thank you.
Can we keep, you're about sustainability. We need to keep Megan's relationship sustainable. So I think it really would align with.
Maybe I'll find somebody actually who's like my dream man. Working with these good people and this good wine. It sounds like a dream come true.
So Mike, I love wine. And then, we always, if you're a wine lover, I think to the extent that I am a wine lover, you fantasize about, oh man, maybe one day I'll go and retire to Spain and I'll have a little vineyard and I'll, but when I hear your life, I say to myself, I'm like, I'm going to hate wine after like a month. I won't even want to smell it, look at it. I don't want to have any. If I see a grape, I'm going to run in the other direction. How do you keep it fun for you?
It's just each person. I love what we do. So I'm not. I get tired at times and come home and have a nice martini to relax and blow it off. But I'm gonna have wine with dinner. So I just love this industry and what we do, and that's it. But it's intense. We make it look really good on Instagram, that's for sure. You come up and get this deal for real, and I've seen a lot of people turn around after 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 2 years, and they go, you know what? No. And I've had some very specific instances in my career where people were like, you know what? This is unacceptable. They literally lost it, had breakdowns, and had to go home and be a lawyer, go do something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the some people have the fantasy of what certain things are. Like,
teaching,
the
like
fantasy.
teaching.
You like teaching.
That was supposed to be nice. A good thing to do.
That was supposed to be. Yeah, we saw Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
They all really liked Edward James Olmos
I
at some
wanted
point.
to be Robin Williams on a table yelling at my students. I had dreams. I had fantasies.
Yeah.
But that's not
Where's Robin Williams now, Megan?
Yeah, that's not a good joke.
Too soon?
Too soon.
No? All right, well,
No,
whatever.
It didn't end up being my dream.
It didn't end up being your dream. But
Hence, I'm drinking here.
like I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to make money, go open a cocktail bar in a place where they make wine. Because everybody that makes wine, the last thing they want to do at the end of the day is drink more wine. They want to go to the cocktail bar, the brewery. Like, you said a martini. Is that your go-to? Like, what are you drinking when you're not drinking wine?
The martini is when it's been a long day, when I need to come home. I need to detach and relax. Yeah,
Are we dirty
martini,
50-50 martini? Talk to me here.
So mine is definitely gin based.
All right.
Dirty gin based. And then I just had one. The Botanist is probably my favorite. That's a solid. Nice gin. That's a solid gin.
Yeah, really solid gin.
So yeah, but for me that's probably my go-to. But more often than that, it's wine in my house. My son's in it, get involved with it and traveling and studying. And so we come home at night and talk about it. Hey, check this out, Dad. Check this out. He's, and so it's more wine for us for sure.
You're living my slogan. You're just proving my point. Spirits make stories. Wine makes memories.
I mean, well, it is kind of a beautiful thing that you happen to have a son that is into what his dad does. I can't tell you how cool that is.
Dentistry. That's what my dad does. I'm not into it at all.
No, you just have nice teeth. Yeah. You just took full advantage of the dentistry. And that's it.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm not into it though.
No, but when did you realize your son was interested in like kind of following in your footsteps?
And it better be after 21.
No, not a chance. Come on. He graduated high school, and he came to us and said, "Hey, I'd like to travel." And we thought, hey, well, obviously I wanted him to go to college, right? But my wife and I went to college. We were both the first people in our families to go to college. So college isn't a long thing in our families, but we both went to Cal Poly. And my first instinct was, hey, go to school. You got to go to college. You got to get a degree. But he blew it off. Went to junior college for a bit and said he wanted to travel. So we thought that was a great idea. We thought, hey, you should travel. You should go on. And he thought that was great. And then he came back to us and said, well, where's that money? You're going to put that money in a bank account for me so I can travel the world and go to Thailand? And no, hell no. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was wrong. And so I try again. It says, well, I don't want to be a winemaker, but maybe I'll travel. One of the things, because he's second generation, and if you get involved early as a young person, you can do 2 harvests a year. So you can do harvest in February, March in New Zealand, Australia, Chile, and Argentina. And then come back to the Northern Hemisphere and do a harvest in fall time in Italy, France, California. And so he started like endless summer doing that. So he's made wine and done jobs in Australia, France, Oregon, Washington. So anyway, but he started at 19 years old, and in his first harvest, he was 19. He drove himself, went from here in Pismo Beach to Washington State, drove by himself, and went up there and worked a harvest by himself.
Yeah, speaking of Pismo Beach, and I can't remember if you told me if it's Pismo or Avila, where your fun little side passion project wine is. Which one is it?
It's in Avila Beach. Yeah, my wife and I have a little small brand in Avila Beach. Yep.
It's so what inspired you to kind of do something fun with your wife? Was it just like, I want to do something fun with my wife and create our own little fun project?
Yeah, this goes way before Ancient Peaks. And again, Ancient Peaks was 2006. We started, before that, but we got married in Burgundy, actually in Burgundy, France in 1996. And we started our company in 1997. So that company's called Sinor Valley. We have a small vineyard, and we have a small tasting room in Avila Beach that we pour our wines at. So no, that
How
was
did
just
you guys meet? I need to know this. I'm sorry.
yeah. We had chemistry. That's a story. We had chemistry 121 at Cal Poly SLO.
Oh,
And
really? Like literally.
yeah, we literally had chemistry
The
121.
class.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So
We had
yeah.
chemistry. No, the class.
I'm pouring a third wine now, and and this is a wine that I got really excited when I went to, I can't remember the name of the cafe, but the cafe that's on property at Ancient Peaks that serves all your wines, and the food is so good. And I met Chef, who's amazing. I'm having a brain fart here, Mike.
It's just the Ancient Peaks Cafe. It's just it's in our taste room. It's right there. It's same building.
And first of all, the food's fucking delicious. The food's phenomenal. But this is a wine that I saw on the menu, and I was like, oh my God, I need to try this. So I mentioned that they grow so many different varietals on such a large property, and one of them is a Nebbiolo. For for folks listening at home, Nebbiolo is a very prominent grape in quote unquote the king of Italian wine, Barolo in Piemonte. And am I losing? Is it Barbaresco as well? Am I losing my mind? I'm having a brain fart right now, but I think it's Barbaresco.
You got it.
But it was so exciting to see that being grown, and a wine that you make, and it is just delicious. So please talk to me about it while I sip it.
Certainly, it's a pretty rare wine you got there, Eddie. We do not distribute that wine. We made less than 200 cases. Ancient Peaks is a company, again, over delivers. We make 5 different varietals. You can find it in 46 states around the country. But that wine, that Nebbiolo you have with you right there, was actually a passion project from Stuart Cameron, the winemaker. Stuart went to Italy a long while ago now and came home, and ownership at Ancient Peaks, he was talking about it. And so this is kind of gives you an insight to what Ancient Peaks is about. Just because he went to Italy and got inspired by Nebbiolo Sangiovese, we actually planted a couple of acres of Sangiovese and about an acre of Nebbiolo just for him to make into wine as a side project. So that's really what it was satisfying a passion from a key employee. He makes the wine, and now in the tasting room, we have this Nebbiolo and Sangiovese, which has been really fun to share with people. But I tell you what, very hard to find that wine.
Well, I mean, people ask me sometimes, they'll be like, hey, why am I going to join a wine club? I can buy the wine here at the supermarket. I can buy the wine at this place or whatever. Well, this type of wine is the type of wine that is a reason why you join a wine club. I don't know if this is available via the wine club, but it's usually these kind of more limited production wines that are the major incentive, besides having a discount, to being a member of a winery.
Without a doubt, you hit the square on the nail on the head. I mean, that's exactly what it's about. Is a discount, and you get to go and taste the wines. You can go into certain retail establishments and look at the wine, see the wine, but they don't appreciate when you pop the cork, taste it, and put it back on the shelf. You can walk into Ancient Peaks and try the wine. If you don't like it, go to the next one. But yeah, in these small lots, that's really what's really fun to find is find a winery you connect with everything that you have, and then come to the building itself, whether it's Paso Robles, anywhere, and find out the small lots. And that Nebbiolo is one of those wines for sure for us.
Now, is there any strategy or thought put into just trends in wine per se? Like, you guys have such an amazing space and so many different varietals you grow, and all of a sudden, XYZ starts to become popular. Is there potential, or is there a world where you guys can kind of prepare for that or start leaning it, or does it take too long to make a wine?
It takes a while, I mean, when you talk about putting a grape in the ground, like that Nebbiolo in your glass, right? We put it in the ground, we call it year 1. We didn't get grapes till year 3. We didn't get wine till year 4.5, 5. And so nothing changes quickly. You can't chase too many quick trends. But that being said, there's definitely trends in the business that are happening and ebbing and flowing. But it takes a while for the industry to catch up to those sort of things.
Now, does the is the trend that's easiest to catch up to maybe just the delivery system of it, where it's like, okay, cool, now people are really into a premium boxed wine. I don't know if they are, but like a premium box. All right, cool. Let's figure out a place, and we're going to save on a bottle cost. We're going to be able to put it into this container XYZ, or people are into the canned wine now, so we can put it into that. Is that something you guys even think about?
Sorry.
We definitely think about it, and you're exactly right, Eddie. In terms of quick to market, I mean, things you can turn on a dime is yeah. Hey, let's put it in keg. Let's put it in cans. There's some plastic bottles now with glass liners coming out. That's I've just learned about it last week, and so those sort of things are a quick turnaround and something you can do that can get it really quickly out there. So versus
Yeah,
hey,
because
let's plant Teraldigo or Nebbiolo. It's
uh,
going to take you 3-4 years to get it done.
yeah, it's like I know because imagine you're on the boat. How nice would it be to have a Sauvignon Blanc, like a premium? Because that's the thing. Like if I've had a few canned wines and I'm like, this is shit wine.
I know. I've had
Why
really
doesn't
bad
like a
experiences.
winery that makes really good wine charge a little bit more, but at least when I'm out on the boat or I'm at the beach, I have a 6-pack of, I don't know, 6-ounce can whatever of like premium Chard or Sauv Blanc or Rosé or bubbles, you know?
Yeah, you can find those every once in a while, but you got to be in touch with the winemaker. That has to be a pretty high level dedication because when you're going to can, you know where you're going. The lifespan of
Yeah.
that. It's just like you're thinking
It's
Vegas
not
by
going to
the
the French
pool.
Laundry in the can.
Yeah, probably not a lot of cans at French Laundry, I assume.
No, just making sure.
Yeah.
Uh, curious, just because of where your winery is located. We had these horrible fires in California, and
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going to Paso. Oh my gosh, I can't remember which year it was, but we were still seeing the smoke. I remember being up at Dow and still seeing the smoke up from the top of where their property is. What do you do to kind of navigate that is it the kind of thing where you see smoke coming, we might have to pull off a little bit early off the vine, or like what do you do to kind of circumvent the effects of natural disasters like that?
Yeah, that's a hard one. When it comes to those smoke taint, you can obviously keep
Yeah.
your property mowed and hopefully nothing kicks off and gets you. But yeah, you can get a little bit early. It's all about the timing of it. Like there was some in 2017. 2020 was the big Napa fire, called the glass fire, and
Hmm.
absolutely decimated, Napa. I mean, it was really difficult. Our son worked up in Napa Valley in 21, so we were up there early in 21 after the fire, and we didn't get hit with it. So anyway, as far as trying to brace against that, boy, there's not much you can really do. Is hold on tight, and then hope you don't get it. And maybe you could pull it off earlier, but that's a real hard one to manage.
Yeah, it's one of the things where because knowing that about Napa, and then I remember I was up there maybe around 2017, and there was another really bad fire up. I can't remember which mountain I'm right now. It's where
Well, yeah,
I'm
no,
having a brain fart. Yeah, there was
2017, we the whole all of California in summer was on fire. Yeah, that was a rough year too.
and I remember seeing certain wineries from out there putting wines on the market, and I'm like, this is gonna taste like mezcal wine, is what this is gonna taste like. How do you have the audacity to charge $150 a bottle for this? Because the person who doesn't know is gonna see it at Costco or something and buy it, and then they're gonna go home and they're gonna hate your winery because they're gonna think that this wine that they thought was amazing, that they heard was great, tastes like an ashtray, you know? And it sucks because you're trying to figure out like how do they make money? Do they just suck it up that year? Does insurance pay? Sorry, I know there's all these crazy factors, but I'm always perplexed by that as a consumer.
Certainly, yeah, and you've hit on one of the hardest ones to deal with because there's actually remediation you can do after the wine's in the barrel or in tank. You can use heavy equipment and filter that stuff out. But again, if you're a premium brand and you're trying to do something from a certain place, you're not going to be there, and so you might have to skip a vintage. And so yeah, those are minefields that you've got to manage as a company and try to stay alive.
What's your biggest pet peeve? Without you don't have to name a brand or anything, but what's your biggest pet peeve in the wine business where you'll see something and it'll just irk your liver? Because I can tell you for me, it's like tasting those chemicals in something, or there's a particular winery that I won't name that is in every freaking restaurant, and I see people show up to parties with this bottle, and I'm like, ay vey, you just wasted $80 of your life on this, and it just it tastes like chemically driven wine. What's your biggest pet peeve?
People not having open-mindedness to enjoy different wines that they drink today. I mean, when I sometimes I come across people like, oh, I don't know, oh, I don't drink Chardonnay, I don't drink Merlot, It's like, shut the fuck up. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, like just
Yeah.
well, have an open mind. I mean, because when you're that, to me, that's just closed mindedness. And so to me, I don't appreciate it when people can't be open minded and say, oh, you know what? I usually don't like Nebbiolo or Sangiovese, but you know what? Let's try yours. So that's my pet peeve, is not people not wanting to experiment and try.
I mean, I have an issue, or I've had an issue in the past with Mendoza Malbec. It is not my favorite Malbec, but I find that I love Malbec grown in California. I've had several of them grown in California, and the flavor profile just aligns more with me. Mind you, I'll try them all. I'll try the Mendoza Malbecs. I've been like, you know what? Maybe there's one at a higher altitude growth that I've never had before. That this will be the one that kind of shifts my perception of it.
There's not a lot I won't try.
No, when it comes to wine, there's not a lot of I won't try.
When there's alcohol, though, too, like there's not a lot I won't
I mean,
try.
There's a lot I won't try the second time.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm always on the search for the worst tequila, so there's that.
It's your gift and your curse.
Yeah, but I'm open to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but that's what I love about you, Megan, because
you
are open, and then the thing is you come with such a fresh set of eyes to that experience that there's no filter in how you feel about it, and it's a breath of fresh air. I've been lucky to try so much wine, nowhere near what you've had in the world of wine, but it's easy to get in our own way once we start comparing things to other things, as opposed to just like brown bagging a bottle and let's just try what it tastes like. You know what I mean? Don't worry about where it's from.
That's the classic ego getting in the way of exploration, and you get to a certain level of knowledge and experience, you suddenly, oh, I know, I don't drink, I don't do this, I don't do that. And that's no, you want to stay open minded for sure.
And I think that falls under sometimes the mentality of the screw top, which isn't it more expensive than having a cork?
No, it's a lot cheaper. It is.
It is. I thought that there were certain screw tops that were more expensive than a cork because of the way they allow oxygen in.
No, the screw cap is extremely cheaper. That being said, it really shouldn't be a barrier of quality at this point, or it shouldn't be a perception of quality. 15, 20, I mean, 15, I mean, gosh, it's 25 years ago. Screw cap, probably not a good wine. But I mean, and again, it must have been, it's got to be 15 years ago that Plum Jack, $150 bottle of Cabernet from Napa Valley came out and put half their vintage in screw cap, half with the cork, and let it go. And there's whole regions in New Zealand, that's a whole country, that's all they do is screw cap. So today, it's not really a indicator of quality. It's just more of a desire for the producer and how they want to finish their wines.
I mean, Cade Vineyard and Howell Mountain, half of their bottles of Howell Mountain expensive ass cab, which is delicious, is screw cap cab. And I remember that was the last time I was there tasting. I was like, holy shit, this is. I mean, I thought it was cool because I did a side by side with the cork and the screw, and I mean, it was a negligible, if any, difference, to be honest with you. I think you have to be Steven Spurrier with his like palate to be able to taste the difference in that shit.
For sure. And as you were saying earlier, the screw caps manufactured today aren't like they were 15, 20 years ago. You can get permeability differences, like it's a 2-year age, 4-year, 15-year age permeability. You can order that up now with these screw caps. It's not like a hermetically sealed done product like it was 20 years ago.
All right. So before I let you go, I have just a couple of I guess short questions to ask you.
Is your son single? Were you not going to ask that?
He is.
I wasn't going to ask that, but now we can. Yeah. Does he like a soon-to-be middle-aged?
I can't help myself. Did you see me back here contemplating this for like the last 20 minutes? Should I ask him?
That's what wine does.
Should I make him uncomfortable? Yeah.
Wine is liquid marijuana. It really gets you thinking.
Go.
Yeah. All right.
I asked him a question, Eddie.
God damn it. All right, fine.
Well, remind me of the question.
Is your son single?
He's got a girlfriend, now that I think about it.
All right, I tried. Now you can go on, Eddie.
Does your son have wandering eyes? All right. Okay. So
I get along with people.
If you could describe your winemaking style as a superhero, who would it be and why?
It would be Invisible Man, because I don't want it to have any reflection of me personally. I want it to reflect the vineyard and not in the vintage.
Damn, you would have sworn I
good.
gave him this question
He's
ahead of
so
time.
good.
He's on it.
God, that's like when someone asks you, like, what's your worst quality? Like, I work work too much.
I'm too responsible.
I'm too clean.
All right. What's the funniest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened to you while working in a vineyard or a winery?
Funniest thing in a vineyard or a winery? Funniest. Gosh. I'm thinking the funniest
Or
I can.
unexpected?
Unexpected. I remember
No
climbing up some
streakers coming through.
Yeah,
No, that's when
unexpected.
Megan volunteers. You'll have a streaker. It just means a streaker means Megan passed out naked when you get there in the morning. That's not really a streaker. But
what happens at harvest stays at harvest, Eddie. So.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I climbed up some barrels at Byron Winery in Santa Maria, and then I got to the top, and there was a snake looking at me at the barrel, like about 10 feet off the ground. So that was pretty surprising back in the day. It was a really, really hot day, and the snake had gone up in the barrels, was sitting there. It was a garter snake. It was harmless, but to climb up some wine barrels in a room and get some snake was pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that's no fun. That's not fun. If you were a grape varietal, which one would you be and why? I love these are like the speed dating questions for winemakers. I love this.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely be Pinot Noir, because Pinot Noir is just you don't know what you're gonna get. It's elegant. It's something you have to appreciate. It's not obvious. So I would obviously Pinot Noir is my passion. So.
And lastly, do you have any superstitions about your winemaking? Like if you see a wild boar run on the vineyard on harvest day, like that's it. It's shit. It's like Groundhog Day. What are your superstitions if you had one?
Well, I do have some secrecies that I deal with in harvest and I go through, but coming up to full moons, I know things are going to ripen, so I want to get picked before full moon. I don't know. I love watching. I set my vintage mindset through Tour de France in July. Back when I was younger, you can tell now I'm like Father Time with the gray hair, but for a good 25 years, I would never cut my hair until I quit cutting my hair at the beginning of Tour de France. And then I would not cut my hair or shave until the end of vintage, until the last grapes were off.
Oh man,
that is awesome. You were like a Geico caveman.
I love
it. It was. It's funny. There's been some journalists
the end of Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
I think I'll go home now.
I think I'll go home now.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. You come up to the Central Coast, and it seems to be a Central Coast thing. And there's been some journalists that have done some articles about that, where we just grow beards, we get a little bit homeless looking. So you come up to San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles, and you see some of the homeless looking people wearing Blundstone boots. It's probably a winemaker.
So Mike, where can people find Ancient Peak Wines?
The best thing is just go to Google and type in Ancient Peaks, and that'll take you to us. And then through that searching, you can find local wines in LA. We're out and about, man. We're all over, and not every store, but we're pretty readily available. Yeah,
and I love that, because you are a wine that is readily available, and it's that it's you would probably say it's that 20. It's not the 20. It's just that the Cabernet Sauvignon is probably what's the most readily available.
Certainly, yeah. Cabernet, Zin, Merlot, you're gonna find that from $19 to $22, $25 a bottle retail, all around for sure.
Yeah. So guys, when you see a bottle on your shelf, or on the shelf at your local store, give it a go, check it out. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Mike, we try to end every show, at least when we have a guest on, because I don't give a shit about Megan's time. But when we have a guest on, we like to end the show the same way, that the only thing we don't get back in life is time.
No, we like to end it like this. Spirits bring stories.
Oh boy.
Wine.
The third callback does not work.
Brings memories.
The third callback does not work. The only thing we don't get back in life is time. Mike, we want to thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us here and with the audience on Kill the Bottle podcast. Audience as well, thank you so much for spending a little time with us. Cheers to you all. Please follow Ancient Peaks Winery on social media. Check out any one of their wines. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. I was not disappointed. I had an amazing time when I was there. As far as us, please like, follow, subscribe, write Megan letters, tell her she looks pretty, ask us questions, rate and review. That's right. Rate with a T, not with a P. Rate and review. And please send us emails, killthebottlepodcast@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, things you want us to talk about. I don't know. See you next season.